It's a great example of the investment and infrastructure that soccer owners are doing all across the country, which is helping propel our sport forward. As you know, we're building a new facility in Atlanta, so getting the tour from Adrian and all the tips and tricks as to what we should be thinking about as we're building our National Training Center was super helpful. So incredibly excited to be here, and what an awesome facility.
I know that these can be scouting missions too, and I saw Beth Knox in the room, and April was sitting next to you. There's other events that are going to be coming up between now and 2026. Is there a potential here that what you're seeing in this trip could be factored into some other decision about other events before 2026?
Well, there's before and there's also after. As you know, we're bidding for the Women's World Cup in 2027. This would be an incredible market for women's soccer. We obviously know the great history here of women's soccer, and so we have lots of potential things to be back here in Seattle for, and excited about that.
In terms of the training facility, any other, knowing that you're building the other place in Atlanta, what are you taking away from this one that will factor into those plans or factor into other plans as you talk about these other events?
Sure. Well, I think there are lots of learnings, but one of the things that I'm most excited about is how intentional they are around the full experience. So there's the soccer part, but then there's the experience for employees, their experience ultimately for fans, for sponsors, for other partners, and ultimately for neighbors, and making sure that you are a very good neighbor. That's an important part of any real estate project, and what Adrian and the team have done here and are doing here is quite cool and something that we hope to learn from.
You heard the reference about the game last night with Memorial Stadium. There's a project there as well that could be a nicer facility here in a few years.
Yeah.
Is that something that you scouted out here about potential use of that space for future events for U.S. Soccer?
Well, I feel very fortunate to have been able to go to the Ballard FC game last night at Memorial Stadium. That was awesome. The environment was incredible. What a cool venue. And as you're sitting there, you can imagine what could be. I'm excited to see that come to life. And Seattle's an awesome soccer market, and so we look forward to being back here early and often.
What makes this soccer market different than others around the country, whether it be Atlanta, Kansas City's often talked about in that discussion as being one of the top soccer markets?
Well, the history here, the culture, you've got knowledgeable fans. Last night at the Ballard FC game, I was sitting with Roger Levesque, who I've known since college, and obviously everyone knew Roger. Just hearing the fans talk about the game is an incredibly knowledgeable group of folks, and I think that history, that culture, that passion, that knowledge is certainly up there with any soccer market, not just in the United States, but in the world. And so we're excited about in 2026 being here and being a part of that, and look forward to full backing to make sure this is a home venue as we go on our journey.
I feel like I'm hogging all the questions here. Sorry.
He's a talk hog, man.
Yeah.
Come on now.
I tell you.
You're a young guy. You got a lot of pressure. You have big shoes to fill here to make this all work. How important is it? You've talked a lot about it before, about coming out of the gate from a level of knowing the game so well. You have so much experience for such a young age, and your background, refereeing, playing, being the game, being with Stanford. How does that impact you and allow you to do your job, to kind of see it from not just we want to win and we're the World Cup and we're U.S. Soccer?
Sure. Well, I think what makes soccer in this country great is everyone who plays every day, who coaches, who referees, the family members of those folks who schlep their kids or their partner or their friend to games and are there in the good times and the bad. And I think knowing that in your core, in your soul, as to what soccer can be and how passionate it is, I think bringing that into the job is so important, because that's why we're all here. It's, of course you want to win things, but for us it's around how do we have tens of millions of more people in the United States experience this game we love. And so that's what gets us showing up to work every day, and we want to win some things too.
And I know they do it right. We talk about it all the time. The Sounders are one of the top teams for performance and look and what they offer here in the Emerald City. How important is it for the Emerald City to shine? And do you believe that Seattle is one of the best soccer towns in America?
Absolutely, Seattle's one of the best soccer towns in America. I actually believe the world. I think the culture here, the history, the infrastructure, obviously where we are right now, is up there with any facility I've seen anywhere in the world. And so only the beginning in terms of obviously great history, but huge upside here, and we're excited to be a part of it.
You're making it accessible for people to play soccer all around. We've been covering the Rave Foundation and what they're doing. Like they said, they're ahead, probably at 20 fields by now. How important is it to keep that through this World Cup and beyond, to get what you're doing to bring more soccer here? Even though it is the world sport, we use it to communicate.
Sure.
Even though we don't speak the same language, we know what it means on the field. You know what a nudge or a hit means. So how important is it to just keep with this foundation and pushing forward and making it more about the environment and the people rather than we're just winners holding that trophy?
Sure. Well, obviously there's incredible work done by the foundation here of making soccer more accessible, getting more fields all across the state. We absolutely want to use the excitement, the energy, the passion around World Cup 26 to get everyone across the country to commit to doing that. Our goal is to make soccer the #1 sport for the next generation, so that means it's the most played and most accessible sport in all forms. And there's great work here in Seattle that we'll all be building on as we go do that.
And how impressed are you with Coach Brian Smetzer and what he's done and putting U.S. Soccer continued on the map? He's been a coach forever. He's been a player. I coached at his Sport House soccer camps when I was 16 years old.
Oh, wow.
It's neat to see where he is right now in the respect of not only here in Washington, but the world.
Sure. Brian's a legend. We had a chance to catch up earlier. It's always a ton of fun, and I'll see him a little bit later. And yeah, I mean, obviously one of the all-time great coaches and really ambassadors for Seattle and for American soccer more broadly.
And lastly, what do you say to all the soccer moms and dads out there? I'm one of them. It gets heated
Sure.
to these soccer parents. I mean, it's a big thing out there
Yeah.
all over the world. I'm sure
Sure.
these parents that get heated. What are you going to tell them?
Sure. Well,
I mean, in the heat of the moment.
Sure. I have a very good friend of mine who has a 5-year-old who's interested in playing soccer, and she grew up as one of the great ballerinas, and she sent me this long email around what do I need to make sure my kid is doing, and I said, honestly, they need to have fun and they need to come back. And so the whole goal of soccer is to have fun, is to meet new people, to experience new things. And so sometimes we get focused just on the winning piece, and obviously winning's important, but this is supposed to be fun. And the more fun we have, the more opportunities we get a chance to play, then the more we want to keep doing it.
And by doing that with U.S. Soccer, spreading that word, we have more programs out there to keep people sane and not kind of road rage on the fields out there with these parents and families.
Sure. Well, one of the big issues in sports and in soccer in particular is having enough referees. And one of the challenges is the experience, particularly for young referees, of let's say fans and or players or coaches not being on their best behavior. And so we are about to kick off a large-scale PSA campaign specifically focused on that, because if there aren't enough referees, there aren't going to be games. And so we got to get the culture right on that for sure. So thank you. Yep.
JT,
Yep.
a question here just in terms of American soccer, U.S. soccer team. You're not getting enough credit because part of the criticism had been American soccer was the fact that there isn't players that are different, the diversity.
Sure.
How important is it now for kids to look at people that look like them to
Sure.
be on that team?
Absolutely. Well, if you turn on the television tonight, our men, playing in Dallas and the Nations League semifinal against Jamaica, that team looks like America. Our women's national team, the sort of generation of young players coming through, they look like America. They are America, and they represent, where America's going. Soccer fans, American soccer fans in particular, are younger. They're more diverse and they're more tech savvy than any other major sport in the country. Well, that's America. That's where America's going. So we're excited about everyone having access to our sport, and ultimately, our national teams looking like, what's great about our country.
And how important was it for those players to go? Like you talked about Ernie Stewart a little bit, but in terms of American soccer players going international, playing for other teams,
Sure.
other leagues, being successful,
Sure.
and again building to the culture.
Sure. So, soccer's a global sport. As you know, many of the Sounders players are from all over the world, and one of the great opportunities for our national team players is to be able to play all over the world. And we have a number of players on the men's and women's side currently playing, whether it's NWSL, MLS, or playing in Europe, and now in Mexico with a couple of our younger players from a men's national team standpoint who maybe will get a shot at the Olympics this summer, which is incredible. So, really great that American players are on the women's and men's side seen as, must-get signings from all over the world, which will only, elevate our game here at home.
One of the things that was brought up was with the Yates report,
Sure.
with the NWSL and it being systemic, some of the issues.
Yes.
What is the latest as far as what U.S. Soccer is doing to kind of, rectify
Sure.
those issues?
Great question. So, safety is non-negotiable in soccer and should be non-negotiable in all sports. And we've taken it upon ourselves to make sure that soccer is the safest sport to play in our country. Actually, earlier today, my colleague Mana Shim was testifying on Capitol Hill around the needs to reform safe sport and the needs to reform how this works more broadly. Sally Yates came out with a list of 12 recommendations as a part of her report. We've implemented 10 of those, and the other 2 are on track. And that's actually all accessible on our website. You can go to ussoccer.com and see where we stand on all that. We believe transparency is very important. We think this is around culture change as well. And there is something for everyone to do to make sure that soccer continues to move forward in that, and we take that very seriously at U.S. Soccer.
In your evaluations and wanting to implement those, did you find any issues on the men's side that also needed to be addressed or anything?
Well, I think the culture change around what is positive behavior is something that is going to be something that we continue to have to strive for across all aspects of our game, and so there are obviously sort of areas that were clear that this is wholly inappropriate. But having conversations around how we continue to push the envelope to make sure that it is a positive and safe environment so that kids want to come back and keep playing because they're having a good time, they're meeting new people, they're growing as humans. That's something that we want to make sure that soccer is a leading sport in that regard.
Can you talk about the President's Biden recommendation on the antitrust in USA soccer yesterday?
Sure. U.S. Soccer is very committed to defending our ability to govern soccer in this country in a way that promotes the growth of American soccer. The MLS, NWSL, USL, our amateur organizations across the country depend on a very positive and healthy environment here for growing our sport, and we're very committed to ensuring that that's the case.
You mentioned that you toured the facility here with Adrian this morning.
Yep.
What were some of your initial impressions and your takeaways?
Sure.
moving
Well,
forward?
one, awesome. The scale, the environment. You feel like you're somewhere special. Obviously, a ton of thought went into the layout and the design and making sure that whether you're on the academy, you're on the reserve team, or ultimately you're on your first team, what that experience looked like. And how do you bring the entire culture of the organization together? One of the challenges in sports is how do you have the sports folks and the business folks, intermingle in a way that you feel a part of one culture. And so I think there's just such an incredible opportunity for the Sounders, but also ultimately for us as we do the same thing for U.S. Soccer. So really excited about what exists, and I'm also really excited about the potential of what's to come here. So yeah, really quite cool.
Have you seen the main stadium in Seattle, and what do you think of the amenities of that, and what do you think they have to do to get more U.S. national team and U.S. Soccer up to Seattle more, to have more games up here and see more of the national teams and some of the other stuff?
Really simple, grass. And yeah, I've been to games there as a fan. It's an incredible venue. Obviously, so convenient, so easy. As we were talking about, the fans here are amazing. They know the sport, they feel the sport, and when you're watching games with them, you're with your fellow brothers and sisters in arms and caring about soccer in this country.
If you could just close the loop a little bit on the Open Cup situation.
Sure.
There was a perception, at least, that U.S. Soccer and MLS were sort of in conflict over how to go forward with that, and it sounded like from what you said before, maybe that was a perception that was not quite accurate. And I guess if you could just kind of, from your perspective, if you could kind of describe the relationship with the Open Cup, U.S. Soccer, and MLS, and how that all works together.
Sure. So, U.S. Soccer is a membership organization. We have a vast array of stakeholders. MLS is obviously a critical stakeholder. Within the sort of the Open Cup ecosystem, you've got USL, you also have the adult amateurs, you've got NISA, which is another professional soccer league, and so you have a whole number of folks who have to come to the table to get a tournament like this right. And fortunately, everyone has come to the table. We got a very exciting tournament that kicked off a couple days ago for 2024, and everyone's excited about coming together to figure this out as we march forward. I think the the opportunity is to really tell the positive stories of what's going on in soccer communities all across the country. And that's something that we're very committed to doing this year and as we go forward. And so, everyone's been really great to collaborate with. We collectively had some work to do because we had ignored this, frankly, for too long. And this is an opportunity to look at it fresh and to get it right going forward, which we're committed to doing.
Maybe if you can explain a little bit of too long, like when was the last time that all of the stakeholders came together like what happened now?
I don't know. I'm 18 months into this, and it had been years prior to my arrival that this got the attention that it deserved. And obviously there have been a lot of incredible areas of progress in soccer in this country, and a lot of those are because people came together, gave it a fresh look, and said, hey, what could or should this be? Well, now it's time to do that for the Open Cup, and we're committed to doing that, and I know others are as well.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you all very much. Appreciate you coming.